Hey, everybody, welcome back. This is Kevin, that's Mark, and this is What Elon Said, where we provide unscripted live commentary on all of Elon Musk's tweets and interviews. Today is March the 2nd. It's a Wednesday of 2022, and we've got lots of news today. We've got Dogecoin, McDonald's fun, we've got Cybertruck commentary, we've got some trolling of the president and other EV companies and more. So we will dive right into it. We'll go down to where we left off yesterday. A lot of Twitter action from Elon last day or so.
Oh, yes.
I think we left off right here with a tweet from Liv Bory. You want to take this one?
Sure. Go ahead.
All right.
Take it?
No, I'll do it.
We have
so
Liv. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. The stage is yours.
All right. We got Liv Bory, who is a ex-astrophysicist, I guess, studied an astrophysicist and was a professional poker player. Wow. Apparently, she won the World Poker Tournament and the Euro Poker Tournament. Only female to ever have done that, won both. Frequent interactor with Elon. And she says, build your opponent a golden bridge to retreat across. And this is a quote from Sun Tzu. And I'm assuming The Art of War, although I've never read that book. And Elon responds and says, if your war technology level is far higher than your opponent's, tactics don't matter. Source not found. So what are your thoughts on this one?
This is interesting because I definitely agree with this. And if you think about it in terms of what's going on right now, I know Elon talked about this specific point when he was on the, was it the
Dan Carlin, the
Dan Carlin
Hardcore
podcast.
History.
Hardcore History.
Yep.
He mentioned this one fact, especially when they were talking about World War II specifically. But this is true. And in a way, I'm thinking that he might be saying that the Ukrainians, in a way, have the edge because they are using 2020 techniques, in a sense, the modern technology of the information war, much more efficiently than the Russians are. The Russians have the brute force of technology in terms of the hardware, but the Ukrainians seem to have the upper hand in terms of the tactics, not tactics, but the technology for an info war, which might sway the world more to win the war in the 2020s than the actual brute force will, as terrible as it is.
Yeah, that's an interesting interpretation. I hadn't thought of it like that. I guess I took it more of just him reiterating something that he had said from that podcast and probably other interviews as well. Just that innovation of technology is really what matters in the long run for companies' success. And like you mentioned in that podcast, he said, even in war. So I wasn't sure that he was making a declaration that one side has better technology than the other, as much as he was just reiterating his belief about that.
Interesting.
With the quote from Liv, I actually had to look into that too. And the idea there from Sun Tzu is that you basically give your opponent an out, allowing them to retreat and therefore reducing wasted resources and effort on your part in defeating that opponent, which was also interesting in applying that to the current situation. I was assuming that applies to Ukraine giving Russia an out, or maybe the world giving Russia an out to retreat back and not move forward with this. But either way, interesting, open to interpretation, I'd say, both of those tweets.
Yes, absolutely. It's very interesting, thought-provoking.
Yeah. Okay, next up, we have a few tweets about, I think it's actually started, we'll go back to the original one, and it was Tesla owners online saying, or asking to the general public, what's a hidden Tesla trick more people should know about?
Yes. And
few responses here.
A few response. Elon had the sophisticated Monty Python feature, which I thought that was interesting, and so did my son. That Elon says the feature coming soon. If you want your car to make a loud farting noise from the external speaker, just say "fart" in their general direction.
I mean, unbelievable if that really happens, but I do know that there was a farting function, as well as I think like open your bunghole or something that opened the charging.
Yes. And sometimes I don't know if he's just joking or or if it is planned or he just thought of it and now the team will have to do it.
More than likely it will be done, I'd say at this point.
Yes.
But even what James Stevenson said here, that you can set passenger seat heater to 3 bacon. I thought that was interesting. And then Elon also responded and said, swipe down on the navigate button to navigate home or to work if at home, which is pretty amazing.
Yes.
Right.
And I wonder if that's for self-driving.
I mean, it could be on the FSD beta. I'm sure that would be the ultimate intent, but also probably more so just for like general navigation convenience at this point.
Yeah.
But then there's also more to this, which is Ross Gerber communicating, can we please remap the horn on the steering yoke on the Plaid? It's in a bad place. So he's a Plaid owner. Everything I've heard him say is that he loves it, even likes the yoke, but I guess has an issue with the horn placement, which I think is just a little button on the right-hand side.
I'm not sure.
But Elon responds to that and says, all cars made since November also have push center for horn, just waiting on firmware update. If you match the right side of the yoke with your palm, the horn will trigger. So there's a solution there, Ross.
These are first world problems if I ever saw one.
For sure. But I do just love the interaction with the Tesla community. You know, you have just a general fun question out there asked with a lot of random replies on little Easter eggs that have been found in Teslas. And Elon even jumps in and participates himself and responds to a couple of Twitter accounts. So
yeah, absolutely.
Great. I think that Tesla has such enjoyable products, right? And that they have such a diehard community behind them, our customer base, but also just that he interacts with them is just really fun.
Oh, yes. I can take the next one here.
Yeah.
So we had Rivian announced Tesla Roddy before that, Rivian launched their new dual motor options for their 2 vehicles. And it increases the quad motor pricing. So the car, they have higher price cars, basically what this means.
Yeah, I think I saw in the comments that they went from 80,000 to 95,000.
Yeah, it went up 10 or 15,000, I think, a combination. So a lot of pre-orders are not happy about that. Elon responded that their negative gross margins will be staggering. So he's like, this car is too expensive for what you get, basically. And that's his assessment.
Well, I mean, it comes back to what he's always said, right? That prototypes are easy, production is hard. I mean, they didn't have a great gross margin for almost a decade or half a decade at least.
Yes.
Right. So, and then you're talking about making these vehicles with every little fancy gadget in it that it could possibly have, it seems. And it just like the cost to produce these are going to be significant.
But they are great cars. I mean, but we'll see like whether people will pay for that versus the Cybertruck. So, some people might want a conventional EV. And they probably are the best at it, I would say, from everything I've read about them. They have quite a good leader, and they have a lot of former Tesla people running the company.
So really?
It's of all their rivals, I personally feel they are the most qualified in a way, and they're just going after the truck market. They are not introduced, which no one's ever done. No one's ever started a new car company just going after the truck market. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting.
Well, I
So
mean, their products do look pretty spectacular when you see some of the specs and you see some of the videos that have been made by
yeah,
folks that have gotten their hands on them. Like
yeah.
they seem built specifically for camping and outdoors and just truck owners in general. So
Absolutely. So, hopefully they make it in the long term. I mean, Elon had a comment here that they are Saudi Arabia owns 2/3 of them, and they were building factories in Saudi Arabia to produce them,
well,
which is
that's
kind of
Lucid.
weird.
That's
Oh
Lucid
no, no,
actually. So
Lucid. Sorry,
yeah,
Lucid.
so you have Whole Mars here responding saying that did you see that Lucid is building a factory in Saudi Arabia? Thoughts on that location choice?
Yeah, that's a
And
little weird. Yeah, actually, Rivian has I think two factories, one in California and one in the Detroit area, I think.
really? Okay.
So they're, I'm pretty sure from what I remember. So they, Rivian is, we'll see how it goes. And, as you said, Tesla went through a lot of trouble, a lot
Yeah.
of growing pains as well. So I think maybe he's just stating that this is what's going to happen. I don't think it's a dig on them, but he knows that they're going to be losing money for a long time.
Yeah. And I mean, he also knows their Tesla's strength almost they're like even arguably more of a focus or equally as much of a focus is production and manufacturing and
Yes.
what they've put in place to make that efficient. And so I've never heard Rivian talk about those processes or Lucid for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
So this will be like, I think for a while, some slow output and really like handcrafted vehicles almost.
It will be. And, Rivian's advantage is like really the only other ones doing it in the US, at least that level. I guess you could say Lucid, but they're the only ones with at least trucks, which are the biggest selling vehicles in the US and usually the most profitable. And there's a lot of that Ford and GM and many other companies around the world are desperately trying to scale out. So worse comes to worse for Rivian, I feel, is that they'll be bought out. So it's not, I think they do have a bright future.
Yeah. Well, haven't they partnered with Amazon too? I don't want to dwell too much on Rivian, but
I think maybe they have some, I'm actually not sure, but
yeah.
I know they are an independent company, but they might have investments from them.
Yeah. And I know less about Lucid than I even do about Rivian. But I did look into this and I guess they got some early investment from the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund, like $1 billion to the tune of $1 billion. And so I guess they got a stake of ownership in that. And he's saying Saudi Arabia owns 2/3 of Lucid. So it's inevitable that they would build a factory there. I don't know what that means for their long-term scaling and where they would be providing these.
I know they did. That was what I confused it with. They did. That's part of the deal is that they're going to build jobs and manufacturing there. Saudi Arabia is trying to move away from oil over time. They have one product.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll be a long road for both of them. I mean, I go back and forth between is Elon supporting these companies or is Elon seeing them as any sort of competitor at all? Or is he just generally trying to give them warning about their future and how difficult of a road it's been for him? I think in general he supports it, but
yeah, I think he knows a lot of them, and I think he is just realistically saying it's going to be a tough road.
Yeah. Okay. Well, moving on, we have Whole Mars Catalog with a tweet saying Dan O'Douche continues to pour money into his FSD smear campaign. And here's a snapshot of one of Dan O'Dowd's recent tweets saying that he'd sooner get in a car driven by a poodle than one driven by Elon Musk's full self-driving software, and asking for follows to explain more, tell him why. And this dates back a month or two now to where Dan O'Dowd, who owns a software company, is CEO of Green Hills Software, also promoted tweet is what Mars Catalog is noting here.
That is very funny.
But he took out a full page ad in the New York Times, I think, just trying to smear FSD and Tesla in general. And then there were a series of, or at least one quite awkward video interview with him in which he could not clearly verbalize why he was doing this, other than that he has competition, or he's associated with competition of Tesla and other LiDAR companies. So
Interesting.
Holmar says, let's put him in a car driven by a poodle, and I'll get him a car driven by FSD, and let's see what happens. And Elon just says, he plays a lot of golf.
I mean, what is his angle for advertising?
I think he's trying to scare the general public about FSD because he partners with, he builds software for self-driving. I believe his company, at least has components in that software build for other companies. And he partners with other OEMs that are working
just a
on
dig.
Yeah,
really?
It's basically it's a campaign to just try and trash Tesla.
Okay.
Things that the company and Elon in general are used to, I'd say.
I just don't get things like advertised like that, because maybe it'll work now temporarily, but if FSD works, then what does he have to gain from that? It's just strange.
Just trying to slow the progress, I'd say. When you can't beat them, they try and take them down. So, and in that thread, we have Tesla Silicon Valley Club asking about Cybertruck pricing. And Elon responds and says, a primary challenge is affordability. Creating an expensive truck is relatively easy. Obviously, if it is extremely hard to do so for Tesla, despite our much greater economies of scale and better technology, then it is damn near impossible for others. So that kind of relates back to this Rivian article here about producing these trucks at scale. And I don't know what the Cybertruck has been priced at. I know you could reserve one for $100, I think. But I don't know what the price range is going to be.
So 50 or 60.
Okay. So much less than the Rivian truck is forecasted to cost, or is currently being priced at. So
at base level, I don't know what it'll be for other levels.
Yeah.
But I know Elon had more to say about this. I don't know if it's further up, but guess we'll see
about Cybertruck pricing.
On truck pricing, but
okay.
Maybe we'll see.
I'll jump in here and see if there's another follow-up to it. Yeah, I didn't see one, but it might be in another tweet.
Else.
But I think it relates when he says that it's damn near impossible for others to do it. I think he's referring to Rivian and other new
everyone
EV
else
startups. Yeah, or like Ford or anybody.
Yeah,
right.
Yes.
But I think he's also saying, like, look, we want to get this right. It's useless to make a product that people love if they can't afford it. Right. So it's got to be affordable. We're going to make it as good as we can make it at an affordable price range. And I for one think people are going to love it. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. He has said in the past that there's a chance it could be a bust. So
all right. Here, I'll just take this. I'll do a quick one on this. It's is a bug fix on the way, Elon? Just like for another that the battery.
Yeah, there's some issues with cars dying.
And he basically, I don't know where his. I'm getting dizzy here.
Yeah.
Where were we? I just saw his comment. I don't know.
His comment was just investigating.
Yeah. So there's like an issue that he's saying that. It's another thing where he's engaging with people, letting them know at least they're looking into it. They're aware of the issue.
Yeah. Again, just more interaction. Probably the most famous CEO in the world engaging with customers on a open platform. All right.
Go ahead here. We got
we got Mr. POTUS, Joe Biden, saying that Ford's investing in electric vehicles and creating jobs, and GM is too, and to the tune of 11,000 jobs and 4,000 jobs.
And this was a big part of his State of the Union last night as well.
Was it okay? I haven't seen it all yet. I've just
Yeah,
seen
so
some of the
he
clips.
he spent a bit of time, I would say, focusing on this, how they're bringing jobs back to the country. Talked about Ford for a while, talked about GM for a while, and then you're waiting for
Can't say
Tesla. Nothing.
Yeah.
Big zero. Just moved on.
And so, Elon responds here saying, Tesla's created over 50,000 jobs building electric vehicles and investing more than double GM and Ford combined. FYI, the person controlling this Twitter. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. Maybe he has some sort of press secretary or something, or Twitter secretary.
Yeah, it's definitely him, because he was tweeting while the speech was going on.
Really? Okay.
So it was like definitely not him. He doesn't. I don't even think he knows how to use Twitter. Might not know what Twitter is. So, but
like Elon know what Tesla is.
Yes, and then he had a follow up. Someone said, "Just so everyone knows, you're the only one who controls your Twitter, right?" And Elon said, "Well, I do have multiple personality disorder, but they're all technically in the same head."
Great response there.
So
there was another tweet
bitter.
Here.
He wants his credit, I should say, but then he still has a sense of humor.
Yeah. And he does control his own Twitter account. So
yes,
another kind of President Joe Biden jab here. We have a little clip of Joe Biden talking about ending cancer, his moonshot efforts to reduce cancer deaths by like 50% in the next 25 years, I think it was that he said. But let's end cancer as we know it. This is personal, he says. And then Elon replies with a couple of tweets referring to a video game series called Saints Row, and says Saints Row 4 was sick. And it's a little clip here, which is, I don't know if you watch this, but what I took away from this is that this is the president here, and he's walking into a press conference, and this is like one of his administrators or something, and says before he walks in, like, all right, look, you have a choice. You can either end cancer. We're going to either talk about ending cancer or end up talking about ending world hunger, and you get to choose. And he goes, all right, world hunger. And the guy's like, okay, good choice. And I think it's a little bit of a reference to the tweets from some months ago about, pressuring Elon to commit money to solving world hunger and all the billionaire hatred that he was getting. I don't know. That's kind of what I took from it.
I definitely think it's related back to that. Also, Elon just said that's a great video game. I think that's all I said here. But Elon posted that. That's right. I didn't even realize he posted the initial video. But yes, I definitely think he's referring back to that, and also that these are the two causes that are impossible to defeat by the president saying, "I'm just ending this." It does take science, technology, all industry, and it's always like, I just remember that old show, the West Wing. They had a central theme on it where the president's trying to think of a big, bold goal, and he's like, "How about we end cancer? Is that feasible?" And he had them sitting around to figure out if they could do it. And I could see Biden doing the same thing. Like, we need something bold.
Yeah. I mean, look,
cancer.
More power to him. Let's make it happen, Joe.
I
think there's probably more than half the population of the world has been affected by cancer in some way or another, right? In personal relations.
Definitely. It was an applause moment. Like, who's going to, in 25 years, no one will remember that he said it, and everyone, it's like an applause moment. Who's going to boo that?
I'd like to look into Saints Row, but the fact that he was able to quickly pull that up makes me realize that he plays a lot of video games, and he's like, hey, I remember that when they were like, solve cancer or solve world hunger. Let's do it. Pretty
impressive.
All right, well, let's keep moving on here. You can take this one.
So someone is Cal Doge 79 is replying to President Biden and Elon Musk and someone else who I didn't see there.
Really? I didn't notice that he was responding to Biden. Oh my God.
Yeah, he says,
wait a second. So
I'm
this is in the same.
I'm dizzy.
Oh, okay. So this is in the 50,000 jobs.
Yeah, gotcha. Replying to Elon Musk and Carlos, whatever, and Joe Biden. Accept Doge, business, new crypto. Please accept Doge.
What a ridiculous meme. I mean, it's creepy. It's weird.
It's weird. And
kind of
people
funny,
denying.
but it's perfect Dogecoin world.
Yes. And then Elon Musk replies, McDonald's. His ongoing ask that McDonald's have it.
He just had to tag McDonald's in there, which reminded me of the Super Bowl ad that we touched on the day before the Super Bowl on this podcast. And I went back and watched that. I was like, what the hell was that all about, actually? So I went back and watched it. And really all it was just people trying to make a decision about McDonald's menu items. Right. Yeah. And one of them, though, was Kanye West. So the link is there.
Was it? I didn't notice that.
Link is there. Yeah, he made a cameo there.
That's funny.
Which I thought was pretty interesting.
And he also responded that go down below to the McDonald's thing. The way he did at McDonald's, which on Twitter means that I think everyone can see it, or I forget what the dot means before it. Some way of messaging.
Not aware of that function. Okay. Well, cool. All right. Next up, we have real life lore, and we have a 30-minute or so video titled "Why Russia is Invading Ukraine." I'm going to admit I have not watched this yet. Have not dug into it, but we'll just look at Elon's reply here. He says, pretty good summary, although national pride is underweighted relative to economics. The latter serves the former, not the other way around. The foundational issue, in my opinion, which this video doesn't ignore, is low birth rate. After all, what good is land with no people?
Well, I mean, this is a longer discussion about why. I think low birth rate definitely has a big factor because Russia is in a death throes that they're becoming very unimportant except for their nuclear bombs and core resources, ground resources. But they also historically, I don't know what the video has, but I know that historically Russia is an open land. Like there's literally no protection to invading Russia. And there's only 6 locations supposedly that are blockades for the rest of the world to enter. And 2 of those locations are in Ukraine. So they always want to have Ukraine as blockades for other armies and navies getting into their country.
I guess maybe that's what some of these arrows are indicating. And you have Belarus here as well.
Yeah. So that supposedly is a big reason why they want to have that. And that's why they want the surrounding belt of countries around there also. Okay. And that's why even the Soviet Union took them over, because that was the natural buffer.
Gotcha. Well, I know you are far more informed about what's happening over there in these world affairs than I am at this point, even though I'd say I'm closer geographically. But less informed, which is in itself an interesting analysis on, I guess, life here versus there. I don't know.
Yes.
I think there's just more news streaming there, options, and it's like harder to get away from there than maybe other parts of the world.
I think you're right.
Or it's just that I don't know anyone here and I don't have those discussions. So. But I was happy to hear some side taking by the Irish government today, just in regards to funding and providing support for the Ukraine people and government there. So I was happy to hear that. Excellent. All right. Next up, we have Jason Danheiser. Says Tesla FSD beta 10.10.2, 0 interventions, 0 touches. My first time to the office. Couldn't believe it handed this route. And here's some great video of it. And we got a really interesting reply from Elon. He says self-driving cars and useful humanoid robots require a sophisticated understanding of reality. I'm increasingly convinced that they are on the path to solving AGI. Should AGI be solved? I don't know, but humanity is moving rapidly in this direction, whether I like it or not.
Hmm.
So I thought this was interesting in that he's saying they. So I'm increasingly convinced that they are on the path to solving AGI. My take on that is that he means his FSD team or the Tesla FSD team. But
I think so, or maybe because he's saying should. I think maybe he means that just the industry, DeepMind and OpenAI. Interesting though. I mean, yeah.
And then just throwing out the philosophical question there of, should we be going down this road?
I don't know.
I'm
doing it anyway.
Yeah, I'm doing it anyway because I trust myself more than I trust anyone else with their hands on the control.
He does say they, it's not we. He's not taking ownership of it when he talks about it in a dangerous path. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But useful humanoid robots. I mean, he is the they with that, I think.
I think so.
It's very interesting.
But I don't know, the visualizations of FSD are just really getting pretty beautiful to look at.
It is amazing. Like this is real time, obviously, because that car was not planted there beforehand, and it's clearer than a video game would have been 10 years ago. It's insane.
Yeah.
It just is wild.
What I'd like to see is a video montage of all the FSD versions, just like a 10-second clip of the visualizations,
the evolution.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. Maybe someone, if anyone watching knows of something like that, please send it in the comments. All right, we got a couple more here. I'll let you take this one.
Sure. Holden Mars Catalog said, I guess that means Elon Musk's taxes for 2021 paid for the GM bailout. Because this article says U.S. government says it lost 11.2 billion in GM bailout. That was the bailout from 10 years ago, though, wasn't it? I don't know.
Yeah.
When GM was going bankrupt, Elon Musk was worried Tesla would go under 2. He fought hard to save it. Imagine going back and telling him Tesla would survive, make him the world's richest man, and that in
Nope. I can't hear you, Mark. Well, he says here, imagine going back and telling him Tesla would survive, making the world's richest man, and that in 12 years, his 2021 tax bill would cover the entire cost of the bailout. And Elon says the probability of Tesla dying in 2008-9 was very high. We closed our financing round at 6 p.m. on December 24th, the last working hour of the last day before Tesla would otherwise bounce payroll. So very dramatic times there. And I think this plays to how great a Tesla movie would be, or at least a Tesla, another Tesla book detailing some of the struggles that they had during this period and their ultimate success story and ongoing success story. We have a couple more here, and I'll just finish this out. We have Tesla Silicon Valley Club that says, hey, Elon Musk, are you real? And this dates back to 2009. It's a SpaceX tweet where it says, Elon Musk does not have a Twitter account. Anyone who claims to be the real Elon Musk is a fraud. And Elon gets a kick out of this and says, that was me tweeting from SpaceX when someone else had snatched my name. I was actually one of the earliest Twitter users, but dropped my account because people were tweeting such trivialities at first. But at West Coast Bill Lee convinced me to get back in. And thank God you did, Elon. Love your presence on Twitter. All right, and then last up, we have Holmar's Catalog saying Lucid delivered the first 500-mile EV. Tesla will be the first to mass produce one. And Elon says, we could have made a 600-mile Model S 12 months ago, but that would have made the product worse, in my opinion, as 99.9% of time, you'd be carrying unneeded battery mass, which makes acceleration, handling, and efficiency worse. Even our 400-plus mile range car is more than almost anyone will use. Hey, welcome back.
Hey.
All right, well, we're just wrapping it up here. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. Lost connection. But I covered the rest of this one, and then did this one about an old tweet from SpaceX saying that Elon was a fraud, and then wrapped it up with this last one.
All right,
where he's stating that basically how much miles is really needed. There's a
Yes.
limit to where you hit a ceiling to where you get more miles, but at the detriment to the vehicle as a whole, to the performance of the vehicle. So
yeah, that was the comment I was referring to earlier. So it was up here.
Okay.
Sounds good. Sorry, we've been having internet issues here.
Yeah, no problem. Well, we'll wrap it up there, and we'll catch everybody on our next episode. Thanks.